really want to just focus on one main objective, which is memorising the notes on the bottom two guitar strings.
Memorising the notes?
Memorising the notes on the bottom two guitar strings. Until this point, we've learnt 4 guitar chords.
Yes.
G5, A5, C5 and D5. Now that shape stays constant throughout the rest of the power chords that I'd like to go through. So it's the same shape. But knowing that one shape gives you access to 24 chords in total.
How many? 24.
Or to be accurate, 12 chords in 2 separate places on the guitar neck. So there's always one nearby where you are when you're trying to get to a certain chord. Okay? So what I'd really like to talk about today are the techniques for helping you memorise where the notes are on the guitar, actually explain where some of the notes are anyway, explain how you can try and memorise them, but it's really about memory rather than playing so much. We will have some exercises where we play and go around the new chords, but it's about understanding where the notes are on the fingerboard and committing them to memory.
I like it.
It's quite a lot of work, and we've only got half an hour, but if I give people some tips and tricks, hopefully they can do it on their own.
Okay, grab the guitar.
Okay.
Let's begin. Do we start at the note A?
Well, what I thought I'd do is, we already know how to play G and A on the 6th string, and I'm only going to worry about the 6th string for the time being. We'll come on to the 5th string in a few moments. But for the time being, we'll just worry about the 6th string. Now, there are notes which people may or may not have heard of before called sharps and flats.
I've heard of them.
Sharps and flats. We'll worry about those also later, but I would just like to say that any note which is not a sharp or a flat is a natural, i.e. G, A, F, D, C. Those notes are all natural notes. Okay. Now then, we know that G is on the 3rd fret. The first finger sits on the 3rd fret on the 6th string, and we know that A is on the 5th fret on the 6th string. 2 frets between those chords. G, A. You'll remember that the chords go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, nothing beyond a G.
Back to an A. Exactly.
The key thing to remember is that there are 2 frets between the chords. So if G is on fret 3, A is on fret 5, B must be on fret 7, because there's 2 frets between the chords. G, A, B, A, G, B, A, B, G. So straight away, we need to commit to memory that G is at the 3rd fret, which we should already know, as the A is at the 5th fret, but also B is at the 7th, because there's 2 frets between the chords.
So is C at the 9th?
I'm glad you asked me that, because there are 2 frets between the chords, except for 2 exceptions. Very important that this is memorised. There's only 1 fret between B and C, and 1 fret between E and F.
Okay.
Doesn't matter where about on the guitar, on any string we find those notes, if you have a B, the very next fret is a C.
With that pattern that you're holding?
With that pattern, it's always the same. Well, even if it's not that pattern, just as individual notes, wherever there's a B, the next fret on any string is a C. Okay?
Okay, so remember that. So that's B to C, and then did you say...
E to F.
E to F.
So the thing to remember is that there are 2 frets between all the chords, except...
Apart from?
1 between B and C, and 1 between E and F. So, for example, if I start with my G, which we know, G, 2 frets up we've got an A, 2 frets up we've got a B, 1 fret up we've now got a C, 2 frets up from C we've got D,
so you go back to that pattern,
and 2 frets up from D we've got E. And if I was going to go way on, it's rare you'd play this high up, from an E, we've then got an F on the very next fret. So 2 frets between all the chords, except
C and
1
D.
fret between B and C.
B and C.
B and C, C. Hard to remember if you don't really think. 1 fret between B and C, and 1 fret between E and F.
B and C, B and C, E and F.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So, just to recap again some of those chords to get us more familiar with them. We've got G at fret 3, A at fret 5, B at fret 7, C at fret 8.
1 fret up.
Coming backwards again, we've got B at fret 7, down 1 fret from C to B, down 2 frets from B we've got A, down 2 frets from A we've got G, and therefore down 2 frets from G we've got F. So we've got F, G, A, B, 1 fret to C. Okay? So 2 frets between all the chords, 1 between E and F, 1 between B and C.
I've remembered that now.
Got that?
That's just something we need to know.
Just something we need to know. You've just got to memorise it. It's very, very important to memorise this, and some handy things you can do are try and memorise it without the guitar. Like, when you haven't got the guitar in front of you, you know, what's on fret 5? Do you know that it's A? What's on fret 7? Oh, it's B. What's on fret 3? It's, you know, think of it that way. It's not so much to do with the physical playing of the guitar, but just knowing where all the chords are.
So sometimes you can still be practising when you're doing the washing up or something.
Exactly right. Sitting on the train, sitting in the car,
yeah.
You can think, what's at fret 1, what's on fret, you know, on the relevant guitar strings. I should stress that you really do need to memorise them, because even though I've explained how you can figure them out, that somebody could now maybe look up a song and it's got the chord of B in it, and they don't know it, but they go, oh, hang on a minute, you said it was 2 frets between the chords, so that's G, that's A, so B must be here. That's really useful, but of course when you're reading music or you're playing in a band, you haven't got time.
You don't want to be going through that process.
Figure out where the chords are. You've got to know where they are.
Yeah.
So do them in small chunks, G, A, B, or on 3, 5 and 7, and then work away and test yourself, or get a friend to test you. Which brings me to string number 5.
String number 5.
Which is the A string.
Yeah.
Exactly the same principle applies. Exactly the same.
We've learnt C and D on this, haven't we?
We've learnt C and D on this already. There's still 2 frets between all the notes, except only one between B and C, and one between E and F. So on string 5, which is the A string, we've got the C5 chord at fret 3.
Yeah.
We've got the D5 at fret 5, which we already know.
Yeah.
Which means 2 frets up must be E. So we've got C at fret 3, D on fret 5, and E on fret 7. But because there's only 1 fret between E and F,
1 fret
F
up.
is at fret 8.
Yeah.
Now here's a handy thing to try and remember. There's only 1 fret between B and C and E and F. On the 6th string, at fret 7 and fret 8, we've got B and C. And on string 5, at fret 7 and 8, we've got E and F.
Okay.
So where you've got that there's little anomalies, they're in the same part of the fingerboard on the different strings. So you've got B and C on the 6th string, and E and F on the 5th string. So again, just to recap, we've got C at fret 3, D at fret 5, E at fret 7, F at fret 8, coming backwards E, D, C, and of course only down 1 fret to B, because there's only 1 fret between B and C. So now we know that B's here on the 5th string, but on the 6th string it's up here. So wherever you're playing, if the next chord happens to be B, you've got 1 somewhere nearby.
And that's the same pitch?
Exactly the same pitch. In the case of the B, it's the same pitch. There's different versions, so some of them will be in slightly different pitches.
Yeah.
But if you're playing power chords, it usually doesn't matter which pitch you use, you can choose. Okay.
Oh, really?
You can choose, yeah. I mean, in most rock music, you know, the player can decide if he wants it higher or lower or whatever. But it's still the correct chord, whichever pitch you play. And if it says B5, you can play it, you know, wherever. You can play G5 here or G5 here. They're different pitches, but they're both G5. It's up to you as a player.
All right.
Okay. I think what might be nice is if we run through maybe an exercise using some of these new shapes, just to try and get them in. So obviously we've got the techniques to memorise them, think which frets have which notes on them, etc., etc. But the more you can bring up your coursework and play the new shapes, the sooner they'll go in. So, you know, if you want to learn F, playing F a lot will help you memorise it, obviously.
All right.
So we look at exercise 1 there, we've got an F, a G and an A. So the F being the new chord.
Okay.
All 8th notes.
All on the 6th string?
All on the 6th string at the moment. We're just going to play 6 string chords for F, G and A. Although if you chose, you could move over to the 5th string, but at the moment we'll just keep them on the 6th string, keep it relatively simple. I'm going to play palm muted, which is something we've discussed before.
Yeah. And
just play 8th notes.
All right, this is at 80 BPM.
This is on an F. G. Up 2 frets. Up 2 frets to A.
Up to the 5th.
Back down 2 frets to G. Back down 2 frets to F.
F. Then G on the 3rd.
That's it.